All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co's daily brief. Got a nice full lounge here. I see we got lots of people hanging out over on YouTube. Let's make sure that's up and running. Are you a go, YouTube? RationalInvestor.co. You're a go. Right on. All right. So I see Alex, an evolved human. Hey, we got an evolved human at TRI. Right on. Robert, Mr. New NBW88. Anyway, welcome, guys. Hey, Joshua. Look at Joshua is all gung-ho. Such a cool guy. So, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the program, I suppose. I think that's what we call it. We've got Mr. Bear in the house. How are you this morning, sir?
Hey, good morning.
All right. You're not going to tell us how you're doing? I hope you're doing great. I think you are. But,
oh, sorry, I'm just making a chart here for everybody.
Okay, so interrupting. Okay, so the bear is busy, and it's tough for the bear because he's got such big paws. I'd imagine typing on these little human keyboards must be difficult. So let's give the bear a few minutes to get himself set up. We got an action-packed episode. Kevin. I have to be damn careful here not to have personal messages on here, but Kevin actually sent me a message here and I wanted to have it on the chart because it's just such a fucking good chart. Look at this shit Kevin's finding. I mean, seriously, guys, you want to make money at this game? Does anybody want to make money at this game? And this is the kind of shit. This is why I love Kevin so much, man. I mean, he's just fucking, and I sent him a message, right? I've got a bid working right down here, and these sons of bitches won't give me a fill. So, it's just capitalism. It's the way it goes, right? But I'm continuing to work away my orders here. But you can totally see. I hope you're not upset at me this morning, Kevin, for having that message on the screen. But I wanted to point that out to everyone. Just fantastic research. It's just beautiful work you do, man. So, long and short of it here is, and I was actually joking with Nils. I don't know whether Nils is around or not, but he was on the site having fun in the lounge, talking a little bit about, the sanguine market the other day and how, Nanny Nibbles. Really, this is such a cool anecdote. I apologize. I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here. But I've seen this happen repeatedly, time and time again, at least a half a dozen times in the 3 or 4 years that we've been playing this game, where, the market goes zooming up, and of course we can't buy, right? Sorry, Kevin, here it comes. We're not allowed to buy face rip up markets, so we have to sit and we have to wait, and we have to work our stink bids, and we have to be patient, and we have to let the nanny nibbles get filled. And what's so interesting, I've seen this happen at least a half, like I said, at least a half a dozen times, where you work your bids, where you're supposed to be buying, where you're supposed to be reloading, but you go through it, and day after day, the fills are coming in, and after a while, you're kind of like, fuck, man, am I doing the right thing here? I just keep buying, and I keep loading up. This go round, I haven't done as much. I've only bought about I think I did the math this morning. I bought about a dozen different coins and positions here over the past month or so. In previous, especially like September, October, November there, man, I was buying everything under the sun. But the point here is that you go through this process of just slowly accumulating. And I always find it really interesting that right when we get to the point where we're like, oh, Jesus, am I doing the right thing? Okay, I got to stick with the plan, don't waver, and you start questioning yourself. It's weird. It's almost like once you get to that point where you're kind of like, geez, am I doing the right thing? Okay, well, I got to keep my plan. As soon as you get to that point, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, the market pops. And that's basically what I just saw happen overnight here. I was quite surprised when I woke up this morning. And, some of our level oneers, they're starting to learn the basic concept of reload zones and power of 78.6s and coming in, now in our Leprechaun of Arc 88.6s, kind of like zones and stuff. And, I'm starting to see the level oneers, right? Because they're just starting at this, and they're like, oh, cool. It's so cool to watch this stuff come into these zones. But, there was one this morning. It was just a perfect example. Like, this is what usually happens. And we go through a month or two of just crap, comes down into levels, and we're like, okay, well, I got my fill, everybody. I had my order, 78.6 Kavarkinator, double bottoms, right? Maybe little gaps right here. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, pooh, markets just pop violently. And what's fascinating about this game, guys, and it's kind of like this, right? You see that this whole fucking rally, and even here, this whole rally is 3 days. 1, 2, 3. If you weren't there, ready, willing, able, with orders working, you missed the trade. And then it goes like 3 months of shit. And here we go again. 1, 2 days, the whole fucking rally in 2 days, and then 2 months of shit. And here we are, 1, 2, right? Maybe we pop up here, and then we got to go back into the tank. So it's just such a great anecdote of the way capitalist process works, right? And of course, and I even remember in our video yesterday, we were even saying, do you think the public's interested in altcoins right now? No. And yet this is exactly what happens in this space. It's just such a great anecdote. I don't know. I don't think so, but it might be. Let's see. Somebody just asked whether this was 88.6 tag. No, it doesn't look like it got down there. So Leopard Kavark doesn't win all the time. But if anything, this is just an excellent anecdote of the fact that we just simply were not allowed to buy at or above the reload zones. Well, above the reload zones. But, if you're just patient and disciplined and wait for the divergences to come in, wait for Willie to get stupid. We even talked about how the selling volume, and there's a lot of these coins like this that are just, the selling volume was just non-existent. And then all of a sudden, pow, out of nowhere, away she goes. So it's just one. And when I woke up this morning, I saw a whole bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of these names all popping up nicely. Look at that guy go, right? Look at all these poppers, and look at the volume coming in here. Right. So, the great part about this is I don't see anything new here. I don't see anything different. It's just business as usual. Just work your plan, build your plan, play from a position of strength. Don't take too much risk. We don't necessarily have big W's coming in here just yet. If anything, I think these are like, dead cat bounce. Then we'll go into, coming back down, doing little reload zones within reload zones kind of idea. I don't think you've missed the bull market. But if anything, this is a great anecdote that we're probably closer to the end of this bear than the beginning. And, I was posting in the lounge this morning, and I absolutely believe this, that if you are patient and you are disciplined, that really, I think that this is the kind of environment that we're in. But you got to have your plan in place. You got to be ready. You got to be willing. You got to be able, and you got to be able to step up. All right, that's my rant for the morning. Why don't we see how the Bears doing here? What do you got on the docket for us this morning, sir? When moon, sir? What do you got us looking at now?
That's just a CNBC tweet from a couple weeks ago. I just can't believe they're tweeting this kind of stuff. Anyway, let's move to stocks before we come back to alts. I think it's great that we're talking about how close we are to a bottom on all this stuff. And I think we're going to see the same thing happening in the stock market here. I'm seeing kind of a broader market sell-off on the Dow here. And right now we're leaning slightly positive, but I do have another key level here. I know that we had a couple zones 2 weeks ago about closing areas and retesting lows, and then we continued higher, but that doesn't imply that we're not retesting the lows that were printed a couple weeks ago. So here's another key level here is a daily close below 24,884 will indicate that we're going to retest this bottom area here in the next couple of days, in the next week and a half here, or two business weeks. And it's really, you kind of have to expect that. Now, everyone's positioning themselves for this expected rate hike from the Fed. So you're going to see equity market almost staleness, where market's going to have a hard time trying to find a direction after the sell-off. My guess is that we'll come down and fill in the areas down here. If you want to take this as a perfect reload zone for a short.
You got a profile on that chart? You should throw a profile on there.
Yeah, so I want to show a fib retracement here. That this area down here, of course, this gap corresponds to Mountain Man, and then down here you've got your reload zone. I don't know if we're going to make it into these tails here. That would certainly be interesting. But either way, I think we need to start thinking on the long side as we come in here. They're probably going to have a sharp sell-off candle here and spike the VIX one last time and freak everybody out, not just the kiddies that are in the market, but the real trader dudes that are sitting around day trading behind their computer all day and playing swings like this. Probably goal is to freak them out. And once you see that happen, you have your buying window. I'm pretty confident that we're not going to see this massive, sell-off volume or sell-off down to the 38.2 level. I just don't think that's coming in here. The Fed's kind of following along with the same policy that Janet Yellen has, which was telegraph the moves, make sure everyone knows what's coming so they can prepare themselves. And that's what they're doing here. They're letting everyone know that they're going to raise interest rates. So we're seeing the dollar start to rise also, which, well, before we go to that, let's show Brian the volume profile. You can kind of see we've got a notch in this area. This just readjusted. So this is a claw right here on the daily chart. I don't know if we're going to spend that much time filling this in. What we saw here on this almost parabolic rise in the stock market was that they just left all the Swiss cheese in the volume profile. So do we need to tag this area and maybe this will get filled in just a little bit with a day or two's worth of action? But I really think that we're going to be moving higher into May. And
I don't know whether you're familiar with this, but it's been a while since you've done volume profile with me. Really, this is a battle at value high here. So the issue for the stock market is, do we accept back into value? If we accept back into value, then it means we're in a bear. But I don't think they're ready to do that yet. So I like your thesis that we stab down into that reload zone, fill in that little gap there right at the top of value there. But I think that's a trap, right? And so everybody's going to be all bearish, rah bear. But I think that's almost like a sucker's play. And actually, the chart that I have on my screen, when I look at the profile, what I see here just zoomed in on this range is top of value was the top that we just had there the other day. The bottom of value is our gap right here. And you notice that, little muwak right in there, little muwak right in here. I think they could have some back and forth through this range, and these gaps are full. And I think you said that the VIX index is showing little uppies here, right?
Yeah, they actually disabled the inverse volatility on the Nasdaq. They're not even printing any prices anymore. So this is officially broken.
Too many people got wiped out, eh?
Yeah, but you can see the VIX is waking up here. You don't have nice market structure yet, but the VIX does any old thing it wants. And when it spikes, you saw what happened here. I mean, this put in a nice W and spiked higher. This isn't a nice W. So maybe we do need to put in a couple more days of, make people think that this is over and then shoot higher. And that would kind of correspond with my idea of seeing a sell-off in the next 11 days so that you can put in this nice W to shoot higher.
Yeah, and I really like that, right? Because we got good old Ides of March coming up here, right? And the Ides usually are pretty tough on the market. So if we're looking for a pivot, there's our Ides. I think that makes complete sense, right? We could play around here a little bit, dip down, fill in the gap through the Ides, clean up the profile, and set up the next move. And one thing that we should all be cognizant of, and this is a really powerful signal, the broader market has already turned back up here. So when we often get in these funny little windows here where you can see the breadth data, the moving averages are very, very wide. So, maybe we shot up a little too far too fast here in the short term got to do some cleaning up. But I do like the fact that the longer term breadth has actually started to turn back up here. So I agree with Thomas. And usually stock markets, like, I still totally feel comfortable with the 86, 87 scenario. Still totally feel comfortable with that. So we'll know through Ides of March here, you know, the Wyckoff process, we should expect higher prices into May, June. And then the question ultimately is, do they push the market to new highs into the summer? If they do, then that sets up our 87 scenario. But absolutely minimum, I would totally expect the market to be on an up note through the May period. That's very normal. Sorry, went off on a tangent there.
Great point there. Dollar starting to put in its double bottom. It has confirmed today, or yesterday it confirmed. No, today, yesterday. There we go. Yesterday confirmed. We're testing 38.2.
No way. Like, this is a megaphone. Be careful here, guys. Be careful. Right? I could very easily see, megaphone and megaphone. This is going to be dangerous for a little while, guys. Be careful. Don't mean to be. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's all right. That's a good point to make. But for me, this 38.2 area has some traffic, so we may see a couple of days here. But you can see.
Yeah, check out this trend line. Check this out, dude. And actually, this would make perfect sense. So I could totally see, and I still think it's a euro weakness, but that's just me. But check out how you see the confluence of this trend line. If anything, I would say look for your US dollar to peak right up in there. And gee whiz, that's Ides of March time period right there, right? So
that'd be one heck of a rise into the next 2 weeks if it managed to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know whether it goes straight up or whether there's back and forth here. We might get a wicked down day to come down and, eat this tail. Brian, he loves trades at candle body lows. Look how these candle body lows are setting up for a wicked trade location right there. So who knows, you never know how the hell this thing's going to play out, but I could easily see support down in here, resistance up here. So just be careful on the US dollar. Oh, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, for me, I see a 93 handle, and that would correspond with what we'd see in gold, and the rest of the markets kind of line up in that area. But yeah, it's good cautionary tale to make available.
There's a 200-period moving average sitting right there. What's that? 93.30. So, yep, that totally aligns with Thomas's numbers.
Cool. So enough about stock market. That's boring stuff. Let's talk about some Bitcoin, shall we?
Sure, why not? Just my overview. Message really hasn't changed. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. We're exploring back up the top end of our weekly range here. If anything, I'm just a little concerned. This looks a little dangerous in here. We're getting overlapping reload short zones.
Brian, you got to share your screen.
Oh, sorry. What I was just going to say was, and this actually leads me to believe that we're setting up bullishly here. You notice how the profile is starting to look very thick. And I often see they do this, that the profile look really thick, but it'll have a cute little notch right down at the bottom telling you that, yeah, at some point we'll be back. But if we get any sort of bullish momentum push through here, this profile, in my opinion, actually is supportive of the bull. So, but at the same time, too, this is an extremely dangerous area for us to be placing new bets. I will be watching this, me personally, really closely. I haven't taken any OKCoin bot setups lately, but I do see one potentially forming here. And if we lose value here, I could very easily see us melt down here. So this is a really, really, really interesting level on Bitcoin right at the moment. What are you seeing, Thomas?
Yeah, I'm totally seeing the same thing. I know at the beginning of the week, or even on Friday, what was the 27th? No, that was the beginning of the week. This is an hourly chart. I was thinking that we would probably make our way up to reload zone in 78.6, which I had seen come in on this marketplace time and time again. It was almost like the rule of law on this exchange that you had to hit 78.6 of a larger range before changing direction. But like I've been saying, people have been front running. There are new players at work here. This market is evolving so quickly that I'm not seeing those nice clean tags anymore. We did see this nice clean tag of Mountain Man, but you didn't get much of a reversal off of it to give you a real nice payday. And then we continued higher, tagged 70.2, and then we really backed off significantly, tests our 200 period moving average, and now we're right back into a reload zone. And we did hit 78.6 on this smaller range here, but things look a little tired. I think there might be a little more uppy left, and Willie's not quite overbought. We are still working off of a bullish divergence that is now looking like it's played out or in the mix of finishing up its move. But it's actually funny. I did have a tutorial last night where I was saying that it would be a great place to take a long if this confirms. So it's nice to see that. I hope that was a trade that was taken to take profits up here. That was a real nice profit window. You got about looks like $350 worth of profit, which is probably close to a 40% profit on a less than 12 hours worth of trade. So that would have been a nice one to take.
Can you draw a trend line off of that peak from 10,945 off of that next high?
Off these two here, this one here, and this one here?
Yeah, can you draw a trend line off that?
You thinking that's a Ronnie?
It almost looks like it, eh?
Yeah, let's see. There you go.
This guy doesn't even realize he's a monster trader. He thought he was a porn star.
Right. Yeah, so I would be a little cautious here. Could we go higher and then actually end up tagging the 78.6? I'd like to see that, but I think that would spell disaster. I think we'd roll over into the weekend, and right now everything seems to be lining up for our typical liquidity evaporation over the weekend for things to just flounder around and do whatever the hell they please until Monday.
So last weekend they fucked the kids on the downside. I'm getting a funny feeling that they're going to fuck the kids on the upside through this weekend.
That would be nice. I would like to see sideways action, but hey, up is always good too. So right now, yeah, I mean, I know you want to see uppy, but sideways to me would be nice. If we could go sideways through the weekend, that to me would be a very bullish sign. Because if you look at the daily chart, even though we have crossed over that trend line that I keep talking about, and this looks like an absolute mess that a kindergartner drew on a piece of paper right now. So I apologize for that. But if we zoom in here, you've got
we do have 2 days above that trend line, eh? Wow.
We do. So here's the other thing, though. If you take a look at, and I hope this loads, this should be our Bitstamp chart. I don't know if that trend line is looking the same way that it does on the spot market or on Bitstamp. Let's take a look. I want to make sure that we've closed above this trend line definitively on the other real exchanges before we start to declare this. So here's the problem, is it didn't on Bitstamp. This trend line is still intact. It's still bearish. So forwards are pointing that this trend is no longer valid, whereas spot on Bitstamp is saying, hey, no, this trend line is still valid. We haven't closed above it. And in fact, it's denying price. So this is contrary to the message that OK Exchange is sending us. And I think Bitfinex looks the same way. Let's see what Coinbase says. So I
don't know whether you can see my chart, but here's the stamp chart, and wow, what a battle zone. Because this is not only, do you see this powerful uptrend line here and this downtrend line? Wow, this is one hell of an important level here, guys. Hugely important level here.
So isn't this crazy, Brian? If you bring up a Coinbase chart, it looks very similar to the OK Coin chart. So on Coinbase, they have 3 consistent candle body closes above that bearish trend line, whereas Bitstamp has not gone above it.
Look at the size of that notch there, though, eh? That, to me, totally looks like it needs to be filled in.
Yeah, up here, totally.
But I do like a nice now, like maybe we get our weekend little flush down to Phil. Whoops. I'm looking at, oh no, oh, that chart, where'd the chart go, man? Oh, where'd the chart, yeah. So you got your horizontal level there. Notice that there's a hole on the profile there, right? So maybe I would actually prefer, for whatever it's worth, the market actually come back down and ride the top side of that trend line, get all the kids freaked out. They're all going short. They fill in that very noticeable hole on your profile right off that horizontal support line, and then turn it back up. That would be fucking awesome. But I don't know whether they're going to do that or not. But
yeah, we'll see. Let's check spreads real quick. We haven't touched on that in a couple weeks.
yeah.
I have a spreads chart for the CBOE. I'll bring that up first. That looks pretty bearish to me. Got a top coming in. Gotta make sure this is right.
And how are you? That's the. What are you measuring that F 2008? Is that January contract?
Is it January? I thought it was later than that. We got to change that if it's January.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that. Now, I don't know what the future symbol is, but you have to be careful. Yeah, so
what should we pick here? Should we do H, J, K?
Oh wow, they're going on. It really, what is it? It's a big end of February, eh?
Yeah.
I would even say, is there much liquidity? In fact, where's mine? Here's mine here. I've got them on here, and actually, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because what I see on these spreads is the cash market is higher than the futures markets, eh? Are you showing yours trading at a discount?
Cash market higher than future. So what is cash market on Coinbase is 10,721 and forwards is 10,651. So cash is trading to a premium.
Where's my crazy little futures chart? I actually had a really cool one that I was following, but okay. So here's my OKCoin one. I don't know. That's looking kind of uppy. What do you think? Wait, and now can you put your futures chart on your screen? Let's see if they look similar. Okay, so there's the OKCoin one. So at least we got some sort of W's working there. That's encouraging.
Yeah, but we are definitely trading $70 to the negative.
Yeah.
This just doesn't have a direction for me. When I was looking last night, I think that the daily is still, I mean, today's candle, if it closes in this area and tomorrow's candle opens up higher than this area, I would become bullish. And if we can close above there, I think Brian's idea of going higher into the weekend is very valid. And you might want to be very careful about our standard thesis that where we leave off on Friday, we'll pick up again on Monday. It's certainly possible, but for as long as it continues to work, you can trade it. I don't know how much longer that will continue when we go into this bullish sort of change in trend. I don't call this a bull trend yet. To me, this is neutral. And you have to remember that. This is a neutral market with no generalized direction. And if you're trading the higher time frames, I don't have a position for you. No one should really have a position unless you were down here, or if you manage to catch something in this area. I would become extremely bullish if we close above this area, and that'll set up a nice...
I did notice somebody in the lounge was, and really, this is what makes a market. Are you a bull? Are you a bear? I did notice somebody was posting in the lounge, if you can see my chart. I suppose you could make an argument that we do have a bullish bot trying to form here. So, I agree with you totally there, Thomas. I don't know whether we really have clear direction here, but traders got to trade, right? And quite often the guys who trade their setups in the face of confusion often get rewarded the most. So it is interesting to see that, we can make the argument, if you are a bull, then I think you want to be watching hate how TradingView does this. I don't know why it does it, but anyway. If you are a bull, I think you want to be watching the 10.5 level for your entries to try and play a move up to 11.9. And if you're a bear, you want to watch the 10.250 area for failure, playing a move down to 8,000 and change. That's sort of what I'm seeing right now. Now, I mean, you decide, are you a bull, are you a bear? And, basically follow your plan and live with the results. But I can completely understand with Thomas where he's kind of saying, we're a little bit sort of directionless right at the moment.
Yeah. The weekly chart on Stamp kind of looks good with this quasi-empire that tried to come in. But it's still, like we keep saying, directionless.
So, let's not, again, and there's, that's also further validation of what Thomas said a moment ago. If we can finish this weekly candle on a strong note, awesome. What I'm worried about is that they pop that weekly candle up, maybe even make new highs. But then Sunday, as they're coming into the weekly close, she melts down like we saw that last week too, eh?
Yeah. All right, let's do a little bit of news while we're at it. I think we've covered Bitcoin and what areas you need to be looking at for trades. If anyone has any questions, pop them into the lounge or on YouTube while I go through the news and we can address those. So first thing in the news is for those of you that use either a VPN, well, actually for anyone who uses a VPN, you have to be careful using Coinbase or GDAX. There have been some reports from those that use their VPNs to point outside of the country, because if you're trading on various exchanges, you have reason to need that service. So what Coinbase is doing is they are changing their country within the person's account. So if they're US based, they'll automatically change your country to wherever you're having your VPN point to. And people are having trouble unlocking their accounts because they're using a US based bank account while their account is automatically switched to wherever it may be that the VPN points. And they're having trouble switching it back using the automated service. And of course, as usual, Coinbase support is not helpful at all. So be careful with that. If you are going to use Coinbase, don't use it at work because work uses VPNs. Obviously, you don't want to do that at work anyway, just because of the inherent nature and sensitivity of your transactions. So keep that in mind for those of you transacting there. Next, there was an article that came out from the New York Times talking about the SEC. And for those of you who watched the meeting last month with Daddy Bitcoin and this guy, Jay Clayton, you could tell that he had a massive hard-on for going after any of these ICOs in the United States who thought that they weren't considered securities. So he released, he specifically did not come forward saying how many companies he was investigating or subpoenaing, but the idea is that there's roughly 80 ICOs that they are giving their subpoenaing and looking to prosecute for trying to avoid securities laws. So they're very serious about this. And I think the reason continues to be the same that we've been talking about here is that the message is ICOs in the United States are low-hanging fruit for the SEC, where they can make good money going after these guys and shutting them down for pretending like offering ICOs are not securities, which securities law in the United States clearly states that if you offer something and expect it to be worth more money in the future, it's a security.
So, can you throw that link in the lounge, Thomas? Somebody's asking for it.
Yeah, sure.
And really, so you know what? This is all politics right now here, eh? So this totally. Money to these guys is irrelevant, but this is total politics. So I can completely understand this guy wants to score some easy political points here.
Yeah, and there is some commentary in the private community talking about how investors, private investors, may actually be encouraging the SEC to go after these guys to thin the space out and to scare people from investing because it's getting so crowded. There's so many institutional investors, so many angel investors, so many private guys tossing around millions and millions and millions of dollars here that they want to scare people because they're not getting a chance to get into some of these things now. And if you have the SEC coming around and knocking on people's doors, the big money's going to get a little afraid. And that's kind of the goal here, potentially, for these private investors who want to keep institutions out from, taking over their space almost.
I totally agree. The sad part about this, guys, we all on the inside know that crypto is the future. So really the question is, how's Big Brother going to try? And, that's the sad part about capitalism is that these guys are, a lot of them are real assholes. And if they can fuck you over to take your money away from you and get you out of the space, they will do it. And it's a really sad commentary on capitalism.
Yeah, well, government needs their piece of pie. And frankly speaking, if this is the piece of the pie that they're going to take and let the markets run themselves, I think it's a victory for us in the short term here. Yeah, this isn't a surprise.
There's a couple of guys that I like to follow on Twitter and Alex and stuff. He's like part of the developer community. And there's one guy, I think his name is Vinny. I can't remember what his full name is. You guys probably know him, Vinny. And people on Twitter were like, Vinny's got awfully quiet lately. I wonder if he was subpoenaed, which I find hilarious. So a lot of these guys that were doing the ICO game and just taking free money and stuff, yeah, those people are going to be hopefully washed out of the market. And everybody watching this video, we don't even worry about that kind of shit. We're on 100% on the up and up. We always play from a position of strength. We don't have to go down that evil, fuck people over, screw them over ICO kind of thing. We don't have to play that game here, guys. So please understand, anybody watching that, TRI and what Thomas tells you and what Brian tells you and all our site members and stuff, we're not even concerned about that because we don't live in that world.
Yeah, it's FUD. And when the FUD comes out, the FUD comes strong. And when it's with this tone to scare people, it's a great thing for us because that means all this stuff's on sale. So get your shopping bags ready. I mean, we were posting links yesterday for altcoins. I was in the lounge at the end of the workday between Josh, Kevin, and myself. We were just loading up all these charts that were all at 88.6, and a handful of those actually doubled already from yesterday.
There's one I bought just yesterday. I was trying to get you guys interested, and it popped violently this morning. And when I woke up, I was like, "Damn!" So this is the kind of environment that we're in. These little things can pop hard instantly, but you gotta be there with your shopping bags open when it's time to buy.
Yeah, totally. So there's one more news article for crypto that I think is important to cover in the Bitcoin segment, and that's more news out of Germany. So Germany has now led the way, stating that they're not going to tax any person who conducts a transaction using cryptocurrency, which in this example now establishes precedent for the EU. So the European Union now, who is historically very, they like to instill capital controls. So for Germany to take the first step forward and say, hey, if someone comes into a store and they decide to buy some goods or services with Bitcoin, the only tax they're going to pay is the VAT, or for those of you in the United States, it's just the typical sales tax. So there's no capital gains tax. There's no like-for-like bullshit transaction tax that we're going to see here in the United States. Germany just says, hey, you know what? It's just like any other currency. And if you pay VAT on it, great, you've paid your tax. And that's it for the individual. If you're going to be operating a crypto exchange, then you're going to be taxed. But that's, that's pretty much to be expected. So this is really positive news out of Germany. And we kind of see that Germany, Switzerland, and countries that have historically been open to these different, like for instance, for gold or for cash. Germany still doesn't have controls on how much cash. I mean, at least their control on how much cash you can spend is much higher than it is in other countries in the EU. So they're still very favorable for transacting business. And that's what you want to see. And the fact that they're establishing precedents, I don't know if that's going to hold true for the rest of the countries in the EU, because they do whatever the hell they want. And with Belgium at the helm for pretty much all regulatory policy, I would almost bet that Belgium comes out and overrides Germany and says, you guys do whatever the hell you want, but if you're going to use Bitcoin to conduct your transactions, you're probably going to get double taxed. And that's just what we've seen out of the Belgian regulatory agencies that establish EU law for that entire nation state. So it sucks for those that are hoping that this will be the actual precedence, and I hope that it is, but I think this article is a little too optimistic about that. But if you're in Germany, great news for you.
I think the impression that I got when I was reading recent IRS sort of releases and stuff is nobody make any grand conclusions yet. They're still trying to figure this shit out. I think it's a good idea, everybody, especially trading wise, just, be honest. And if you've made a gain, then of course, there's got to be capital gains implications with your trading. But for whatever it's worth, good old Uncle Brian's opinion, I still think the jury is out on exactly how these guys handle all of this. And frankly speaking, I don't think it's healthy for the environment. And I think regulators are going to see this, that if somebody wants to buy Bitcoin, buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin, that's going to trigger a capital gains reporting. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense, because if they do go that hardline route, that's just going to kill this whole ecosystem like in an instant.
Well, that's what they're doing.
I honestly, pardon me?
That's what they're doing here in the U.S.
Right, but my hunch is that this is going to blow up in their faces.
I hope so. It's kind of stupid to think that if you're going to use Bitcoin to buy a cup of coffee, that you're going to be charged capital gains tax on selling your Bitcoin that day just to get caffeinated.
Yeah, and just imagine, this is going to be the rubber meets the road. If a lot of people actually start using Bitcoin, can you imagine the mountain of data points that are going to have to go through audits to try and figure out what the capital gains is? I would imagine the Germans probably looked at the amount of work that's going to be involved to try and figure out what the capital gains implications are. We're like, this just doesn't make sense. This is just going to be completely inefficient. But totally, that's just my opinion. Let's see what the hell happens.
Well, it's a pain in the ass for anyone here. I mean, I was talking to my accountant yesterday, and he wants me to come up with the average buy price for all the Bitcoins I've ever bought so that we can declare them this year. And he wants me to track, obviously, now that we know the law, every single transaction that I transact in crypto. And frankly, it's a pain in the ass to go back in time and find out which exchanges, what I sold. Most of these places don't keep records. If you didn't keep records yourself, I mean, I'm screwed. I've got to make a very good estimate of what I'm in all these positions for. And the IRS is going to quickly realize that there's almost no paper trail if they want to go after any of these exchanges. I mean, if they're US based, hopefully they don't keep any records. But I mean, Bittrex, it's a whole different story. They are US based, and whether or not their record trail is still intact, who knows? They can't even let you hold more than 500 orders in your account. But the point being is that the IRS needs to realize that what they're doing here is just impossible for them to enforce. So we'll leave it at that and let the policy dictate.
Didn't you show yesterday that like in Detroit or something, there's like 20 or 30 little Bitcoin ATMs popping up?
Yeah, exactly. So how do they even track that?
It's going to be an absolute nightmare, right?
Yeah.
So I've read a bunch of articles, and in this space, of course, the FUD is flying everywhere. But I've read a couple articles by these FUD distributors. And at the very end of them, they go, but, don't draw any conclusions yet because we really don't know what the official word is.
Totally.
Yeah, and of course we don't give tax advice here, so I think we're all sort of like just waiting. What is the official ruling? Yeah, okay. I think good conversation, and I'm pleased to see that the Germans are. If you really think that the people in Brussels are going to go to head against the Germans here, I doubt it.
Well, it's not that they go head to head. Brussels is just kind of the ruling regulatory body here for the EU, and they're the ones that set the actual law in place. So,
For the
Brussels,
record, China Tim says, "Do you advise to pay taxes?" And the answer is yes. Pay your fucking taxes. We're not. I do not want Big Brother to get us at all. Nobody here should be hearing a message. Don't pay your taxes. You got to be a good citizen and pay your goddamn taxes.
yeah, and we're not tax professionals. We're not tax attorneys, and consult your local tax professional or attorney in your given country for the rules. So,
right. So
that disclaimer.
As China Tim says here, my advice is pay your taxes.
Yeah.
I'm on record.
All right. Enough tax crap. It already gives me enough of a headache. We don't need to bring it up here anymore.
Yeah,
let's get some good news.
Remember this too, guys. Here's the irony of it all. 99% of the people in the world claim capital losses. Most people lose money at this game. So the irony of all of this is that we're actually in a very unique position where we actually we have gains that we actually have to report. Just remember that, guys.
Yeah, so good news coming out of Liechtenstein, a regulated bank by the name of Bank Frick with branch offices in London has begun offering crypto trading for 5 digital currencies, including Ethereum, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and Brian Kelly's favorite, Ripple, where he loves to tell everyone to buy the top. I'm sure he won't be making any announcements for this bank, but with that being said, this is the second bank that we've covered here. Well, the other one was not a bank yet, but they're becoming a bank in Germany, Bitwala, and then this bank is going to be offering the same services. So we're seeing banks getting into this space.
And they even have guarantees on people's accounts too. That surprised me.
Yeah, Bitwala had $100,000 guarantee on deposits, which is wonderful. This is the kind of stuff we want to see keep coming out. This is very bullish news. The more adoption, the more big banks and big money come behind this, the better it is for us. So good news out of that space. Next thing to move to is our good old friend, Mr. Litecoin, or probably not Mr. Litecoin anymore. Now he seems to be running around tweeting about any other coin that he likes, and his flavor of the month is Nano. So Charlie Lee came out on Twitter and said, I took a look at Nano currency recently. Pretty neat. Every account has its own blockchain. It focuses on fast and free transactions for payments, uses POS for double spend protection, and POW to fight spam. The challenge is to keep it decentralized. Disclaimer, I own some Nano. I think we saw the price go up close to 20% after it's NANO. It used to be Rayblocks, I believe, or Ray something. Let me see. I have a chart for us we can take a look at. I believe it's on Binance. Yes.
Okay. Oh, wow. This thing. Oh, my goodness. What a mess. Okay.
Yeah. So I think the 4-hour has, I believe someone posted a bot that they were trading either on the 4-hour or the 1-hour.
Could be.
1, 2. Don't quite have 3 on the 4-hour, but I believe the 1-hour looked pretty good. But you're seeing this guy just, I mean, he's using his influence to mess with people's heads, it seems like. I really don't know why he enjoys doing this. Maybe he really did sell all his Litecoin position and he's just bored trying to pump his own interests. But he was the guy behind Litecoin. And what we were looking for out of Litecoin was the inception of LitePay. And that was the initial news that came out that boosted Litecoin from the $150 range up to this $225, $230 range up here. But now it seems like LightPay is delayed and they're having issues getting the whole thing rolled out. So I don't know if he's trying to distract people or what, but this is a little concerning for Litecoin. And on the higher time frames, we still are flirting with this dangerous market top coming in here on the daily chart, which would allow us, like I said from previous episodes, to reload down here. But
yeah,
I don't think that
I like to use Litecoin as sort of a nice little I really think Litecoin's a nice little leading indicator, you know.
Yeah, me too.
So
Totally.
I think if you drew a downtrend line off of those peaks that you had there on your screen just a bit ago, I think we've broken through that downtrend. And really, it's just a question of, do we, you know, Ron Jeremy our way out of here now and put in some nice structure on the other side of the trend line.
Yeah, this looks like it broke a while ago.
Yeah, so there's the breakout. Boom, it jumps up. And now if this W does come in here, that'll be a bot setup that'll probably take us up into that higher time frame reload short zone, 3.25.
Yeah. So you might have one more shot to get in on this.
Here's any other whatever it's worth on my screen. Here is the Nano bot setup on Binance. Not bad. You can see the market set the trade up off the 25 level. It hasn't hit 50, and really what this means is we go up and we test these old highs. Then everybody who did take this trade basically moves stop to scratch, and we take out those highs and rock and roll. We'll start seeing some action here. Since it has not hit the move stop to scratch level, if you do get a pullback to the moving averages and the 25 level, I can actually argue that it's still an acceptable idea. So, you know, it's there. If you have an account on Binance and you are interested, I can see the levels. They are there. I'll throw that in the lounge if anybody wants to check that trade out. There it is. Sorry, where were you? Where do you want to go next?
Oh, that's great. There's a great setup for anyone who wants to play that. Mm-hmm. You covered a lot of coins that took off this morning, including Sphere.
Yeah, a lot of them sure popped hard. In fact, in Nils, I was joking with on Twitter, and he put out such a cool tweet. Just, you know, long and short of it here is, I mean, I said this earlier, but if you can put yourself into a position to take advantage of the public has lost interest here, I think there's a lot of names that are coming in here. So
yeah, lots and lots of stuff to load up on.
SUB, ooh, look at that! It's just sitting there going, buy me, buy me.
Oh shit! I didn't want to show anyone that. I got my secret buy order down there.
Busted.
Yeah. Let's see what else looks good. You know, I was going through last night.
Did somebody write that down?
It's GAZBD. Yeah, that's it. Oh, so Pink. You know, someone was posting that in Reddit and just destroying this coin, claiming that it's a really big scam. I don't know if anyone's got that, but I'd be careful of that. I don't have any good information for you, but watch out for Pink. EOS is everyone's favorite here. This is still got some strength showing. I'd like to see it go a little lower, but this is one of those strong names that I like to buy higher up. I was a buyer of Walton Chain, and anyone that's been following them.
What's that? I would like to see how that did. I haven't looked.
You got it. Your wish is my command. Let's bring Walton up. God, I've got so many names on here now. I can't keep them straight. Here we go. So I was a buyer at this gap, and we dumped right through me, right into and below Mountain Man, and have come back up since then. I don't know if we've put in this bottom yet, and I know that Brian will not be buying in this area, but instead will be buying down here if we so decide to come to that level.
I can see Kevin. I could literally see Kevin licking his chops right now. Sorry.
That's all right. There's a lot of FUD coming out about Walton Chain criticizing their terrible website. They were supposed to rebrand that and change it up, and it's supposed to launch in the next few days. So
Jeremy's saying that they had a hiccup
Oh
in
yeah.
the way. And that's
So
what.
they had a giveaway on Twitter. I don't remember what the prize was. It must have been some of these tokens, but they selected themselves and tweeted out that they were the winners.
Only in crypto. That's great. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so here's the Reddit post. Walton got busted, fake winners on Twitter.
And Reddit. Oh man, Reddit. Hey, I bet you. Where's Tim?
Oh, this is hilarious. Look at this. So this is the tweet from themselves. Oh my God, can't believe I won. Thank you, Walton team. Keep doing the great work. This is them. They tweeted this. And then someone made a comment, forgot to change accounts. So makes you wonder how random that really was.
Well, I mean, it probably was random, right? But it just so happened that they won.
Yeah, but I mean, they won, but then they had this automated tweet working on their own account. So maybe the random winner was some other account that they were in control of, and it really wasn't a random selection, is what the community was trying to get at because of this post, that they had this. Like, why would you tweet this from your own account?
This is such a great analogy of, price is high. How does it come down? You can't write better fiction than reality, right? Of the reasons why these prices would come down. That's priceless, man. That deserves a screenshot.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
All right. So yeah, I mean, the long and short of it here is they should have put out a policy saying that no insiders of Waltons can participate in the contest. It's really that simple, and that's how all contests are run. So if anything, it just shows a complete lack of professionalism on their part.
Yeah, so they issued an official apology statement. Should we read it, or should we, let's do a quick read. Concerning one of our team members who is among the winners in our Valentine's giveaway, we would like to publicly apologize to all supporters. We promise to deal with the matter in a serious and responsible way. To clear up the situation, the winners were selected at random by a script. The official selection process was recorded live, and we have provided a link to that video below. A Walton Chain team member was among the winners and excitedly tweeted using the wrong why would they even issue this statement? We officially state that this team member's participation and prize, 2.14 Walton WTC, among the total pool of 564, are canceled. And from now on, team members are prohibited to participate in any of our, why do they have to say that now? Why wasn't this policy prior to? It's just so dumb.
These are kids that are running these things, right?
Yeah, but they should know better. They have investors. They have millions and millions of dollars. They have to have people consulting them on a PR basis, telling them, "Hey, you should not have anyone on your team participating on this." It's like it's obvious to anyone who runs a company that has any interest in perpetuating their business model that you can't have insiders participating in things like that. It's just a big no-no. So I think they're just trying to cover their ass, but they definitely screwed up big time. Yeah. So that's probably what caused the sell-off.
A very amateur mistake.
Yeah. So that's our space. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah. Well, and this, if anything, is why you have in venture capital, you don't go fucking balls deep here, guys. You have to look at every single story like, this thing could easily go to zero. So, that's why you do the nanny nibbles, just to keep it nice and light and airy so you're not too stressed out. But when these things go nuts, holy shit, you can make a lot of money. Oh, look at that. We got naked bum pictures on the screen now.
What?
I don't know. What was that? What are you scrolling through here?
I'm just checking out some people's technical analysis to see what other altcoins are interesting to look at. But I think we covered most of them, and we're at the top of the hour here. So I think I've said my piece. If you have anything to say, I guess I'm done.
Andrew here is posting in the YouTube page. He goes, dude, Walton Coin is a huge pump and dump. Uh-oh. Look at their crappy website. They are Korean kids. This is a scam.
Yeah, well, so we know that they have a crap website, and they've been working on changing that. They're supposed to launch the new version, which we already talked about. I don't know if they're a huge scam. I just know that their website is really poor and they do a bad job of representing their brand. But there's a lot of these questionable names out there. I'm not defending them by any means, but I think that
Geez, that guy's got 110,000 followers?
Who's that?
Your guy that's you've got on the screen here. I'm just watching you right now.
Oh, how many followers do you have, Brian?
I don't know, maybe about 9,000. But I don't promote, right? I never promote. I never ask anybody to follow, all that kind of stuff. I just never do. So
okay, I have 28 followers, I think.
But that's stunning when you see that 110,000 followers. Wow, that's crazy.
Wow, look at yours. You've got a whole. That's great.
That's not awesome. Do you remember Jerome? Does anybody here remember Jerome? Jerome found that for me. Hey, that's it. Jerome, if you're out there, God bless you. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, so Bob T says there you can buy followers and stuff. Yeah, I know. So I just, that shocked me when I see 110,000 followers. Wow. All right, so Bernard's just asking us, why don't we finish off the day here? He'd like us to take a quick look at Made. Understand that Made's getting turfed from Trex. The interesting thing is if somebody came in here and bought in size yesterday, so it looks to me like the Made people are still business as usual. And if you do have the ability on Made to go over, and I've already moved my coins over to Cryptopia, I reckon there's a lot of money to be made here. It's just, you got to be patient, wait for the dust to settle. But I actually really like what I'm seeing here. And this is going to be Cryptopia trade. So please understand what you're getting involved in here. I can easily see, from 31 here, there's a big juicy gap sitting there at 84. I mean, you could double your money just on a bounce back to the 200-period moving average. And of course, if this thing ever gets its act together, holy shit, look at this big old hole right up here. There's a lot of money to be made on names like this. But, same thing with all this shit. Don't go and bet the farm here, Bob. Who asked? No, Bernard, don't go and bet the farm. Oh, am I looking at the wrong screen? I'm sorry. There we go. Sorry about that, Chief. So, I mean, down here, is this an attractive idea if you got a bit of money sitting on Cryptopia to go do a little nibble? I think it's not a bad idea. And I'd be very curious. Also, too, a lot of you guys are probably new to the space. I've actually seen Trex come out, and I'm wondering whether the Made people here went and talked to Trex and said, whoa, slow down. So I wouldn't even be surprised that on the delisting date, there's mysteriously comes out, oh, we're not delisting after all. I'm not going to say that that's going to happen. But if you can take the trade over on Topia, I actually have no problem whatsoever going and doing a little nibbling there. So in my opinion, actually, this doesn't look like a bad idea at all. You can see the gap right here, another gap right there. Here we are at that level. If we actually tick up through this yesterday's high, that's a fractal right there. So I don't have a problem if you want to go nibbling on this thing, Bernard. No problem at all. Okay, what do you think? That's the top of the hour. Any closing thoughts, Mr. Bayer?
I do, actually. Sorry to make this longer, but there was some good news that came out of Japan for anyone who has been doxxed for the last 4 years. The bankruptcy trustee was presented, or the examiner presented a plan for moving out of bankruptcy into civil rehabilitation. So those of you that know what happened or are actively involved and waiting for the news, what's been happening is your Bitcoins have been obviously locked up in this exchange and arguably lost forever. But the bankruptcy trustee back in 2014 pegged the price of your Bitcoins, if you were holding Bitcoin in the exchange, at roughly $400 and change. So the purpose of moving from bankruptcy into civil rehabilitation is to force the creditors to allow creditors to get their Bitcoin back instead of what the court determined to be the value of Bitcoins at 400 and change per coin. So under bankruptcy, if you own, say, 100 coins, you would only get the value of those coins pegged at $400. You'd only get US dollars. And if you decided to get your payment in Bitcoin, you would get whatever that dollar amount would be converted to Bitcoins returned to you. Now, the idea is that this proposal or the submission of moving from bankruptcy to civil rehabilitation basically means that you're going to be entitled to around 22 to 25% of your Bitcoins that were being held in Mt. Gox, and the $400 peg per coin will no longer be what the court uses to pay back their creditors. Now, there's some musings behind the scenes that there are a number of large investors and other institutions that are looking to acquire Mt. Gox and restart it. And if that is so, then there's other plans that have been proposed to make creditors 100% whole by using the fees for people transacting on that exchange to keep them happy and keep them on the exchange, right? So Coinbase just in last year made $1 billion profit, and over 50% of their profit came in December during the run-up. So if this exchange can be restarted and have a user base that's actually interested in using the brand, which is a stretch in of itself, this could be another big player. They have a ton of money locked up there, and they have a bunch of users. And if you promise to make them whole again, it wouldn't surprise me to see an exchange like that become popular again, despite all of the crap that happened to it in the past. And of course, it goes without saying that Mark Karpels, who was the previous CEO, would not be running the exchange, and instead it would be turned over to a well-known investor, whoever decides to restart that exchange. So good news so far.
What we should be watching for here is the way that Phoenix handled their hack with the issue of these Phoenix tokens. You remember that?
Yeah.
If they can do it that way, then yeah, Gox might be back. Imagine that, eh? I swear you can't write better fiction than reality, eh? You just can't.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment. All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that report on Gox. Well, what do you think? Shall we call it a day? We're about an hour and 10 minutes into the presentation. Did you guys get any value out of what you saw today? Sure hope so. I did hear, and Thomas, actually, I'm hearing that you've got like a little sort of cluster of people that are doing tutorials with you. So I'm really, really pleased to hear that that's rocking and rolling. You know, other veterans of the site, Benjamin, I see you floating around there. Anybody who's done the level 3 and is a veteran of the site, you are more than welcome to join the TA pool. And I wish Thomas and his group awesome success. I'm so pleased to see the way that this community is building out. So just a big PMA to everybody. A big thank you to Thomas. He's becoming a great member of our community. And let's all just rock and roll and own this space. I'm so proud of everybody here. You're all doing a fantastic job of being emissaries of good behavior. So you guys have yourselves a great rest of your day. We will be back in the saddle first thing tomorrow. And any questions, you know, feel free to ask our huge team of support here. I think we're all headed in a really great direction here as a community. So have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and thank you, Mr. Salmon Hunter, and bye for now.